Of sports with shoot and tour, football discussion on the internet.
The Bulldogs are ass. They never seem to put up much of a fight. Wildcats definitely top of the power ranking. Hello, Gigantor. How are you, buddy?
Doing well. I'm glad we set some new precedents last night in college football where you could just throw shit on the field and get a call changed.
Oh, that's nice. I was unaware. What happened?
So there was a interception by Texas against Georgia, and it was called a DPI initially, so the interception wouldn't have stood, and they marked the ball for a first down. Texas fans started throwing bottles and beer cans on the field, which gave the refs time to deliberate. They overturned the ball, and then Texas took over possession after the ball had already been respotted. So it was some nasty work by the fans and the refs to just because there was a stoppage in the game to now then overturn the call.
What game was this?
Georgia versus Texas.
Well, 1-5. Georgia beat them though.
Yeah, they did end up beating them pretty good. But
yeah, Kirby. I saw Kirby Smart going out and fucking attacking the referees viciously. I suppose that's what it was about.
Nobody likes making themselves an underdog more than Kirby Smart. And the best
they got to go out here and fuck us, and they fucked our butts, but we still fucking. I was like, wow, this is great. Oh boy, this show is a billion times more entertaining than any Dolphins game this year. You're getting Tua back next week, right, Clamp? Yeah, I don't know. That was there's a lot of weird stuff happening this week in the NFL tour. The weirdest, of course, being that in the the AFC South, the only people that don't know their backup quarterbacks are better than their starting quarterbacks are the teams that employ the starting quarterbacks, which is pretty wild. And I was listening to there's guys I respect, like Scott Hansen and guys like that. They're talking about the games, like, who saw this coming? The Titans giving the Bills a game. I was like, anyone that watched any of their games this year and saw Will Levis piss them down the side of his pants. I did want to talk to you about one of the big things that football Twitter was kind of already sinking its teeth into. When Deshaun Watson gets knocked out of that game, and they actually have, first of all, I can do without we're going to show you where his Achilles tendon breaks and then shivers up the back of his leg into kind of like a disgust. Like, I don't need to fucking see that, right? Like, HDTV isn't helping me there. Did you hear the fucking ovation from the fans when that guy got hurt? There's a lot of screaming going on X right now about that. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, a lot of people taking a victory lap, which is unfortunate. I think everybody would have wanted the initial decision to just be, this guy stinks, we're not going to play him because he stinks. And the resorting to the cheers and people celebrating an injury, that's pretty classless. No matter what your feelings are about that player on or off the field, it's kind of sucks to tear your Achilles in the game and have people cheer for it. I would imagine you couldn't feel much lower as a human than to work your whole life to be a football player and have people cheer when you physically can't play football anymore because your Achilles tendon snapped. It's a pretty low day for the internet. Even no matter how you felt about him.
I would imagine, I'm not going to the easy thing here to do is to bombastically just attack and condemn. And Browns fans got a really raw deal here. Regardless, they have a good coach, they have a good running back, they have a good defense. They're in the playoffs, winning games, and Baker Mayfield, they choose to have this schism where they go with, the grass is greener on the other side. And this didn't happen instantaneously, Tor. Like we love to paint this as Baker goes to Tampa, he's a hero, and the Browns fan. No. Baker had to claw. I mean, he was probably a cunny hair away from being out of the league at some points. And he had to scratch and claw back to where he is. So it's not binary, but I understand their level of frustration. I understand that Deshaun Watson probably symbolizes a lot of their frustrations that they've had for decades with this team. And their window's closed. Like whatever they were, they don't have the same players. They're trading guys away. Like maybe they can still be competitive with Kevin Stefanski next season after they move on from Deshaun Watson. I'm not sure. But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that it was less about cheering because that guy got some massages and got jerked off, and now we're because if athletics are there for us to teach lessons and kind of tell the story of humanity without us having to bash each other over the head with swords, and then we've got to be better as fans also. And I don't want my kid seeing me cheer for a guy rolling around on the fucking floor with a towel over his head crying, no matter what the circumstances are. That would be the way I felt about it.
Yeah, young in my infancy of football fandom, I recall distinctly watching a Falcons Jaguars game recap, and I think I was like 9 years old, and I said, "Oh, okay, we lost, but at least we took one of their guys out of the game, like a safety, twisted his ankle or rolled up." And my dad goon handed me, and he said, "No, you are not ever doing that, saying that again. You do not root for injuries." And it was probably one of the sternest, most serious.
Robin.
Yeah, that I felt with this, because it was not any type of joking matter, not a learning lesson. It was a straight up, you don't do that. And
Right.
That was something that resonated with me. But people get very emotional, overly emotional with sports. They feel like they're literally on the team. They're a part of it. They make that connection. It's a weird intimacy that men and people have with the game. So I could see them wanting to stick it to their owners and do that, but I would rather them celebrate Amari Cooper getting a touchdown for Buffalo and saying, well, this is your incompetence at work right now.
On the other side of that coin, I can't believe I'm going to say something complimentary about New York fans. And I know it probably was half Philadelphia fans that made the trip up for the game, but the ovation that Saquon Barkley got when he broke that long run, and it wasn't just Eagles fans, it was Giants fans. It shows me that there are sports fans that get it. And it's like, well, that guy's wearing a different. And I remember reading, I almost did it on CDVTW this week. It was a topic where Saquon came out and said, I'm not going to get booed. I'm not expecting boos. It's a different chapter. I said, you're fucking insane, dude. Like, you think the Giants you're playing for the Eagles. Like, they're going to boo you out of the building. And he was right and I was wrong. And to kind of elevate yourself above that's the other team wearing those jerseys, we hate the Eagles, to a more cerebral way of understanding that was a bullshit situation and Saquon did what he had to do. I thought that was like the opposite of Browns fans cheering for Deshaun Watson to tear his Achilles.
Yeah, the intellectual takes on Twitter today and just from football writers has been, if you're mad at anybody about Saquon, you can't be mad at Saquon. It was literally the front. You be mad at your team, be mad at the front office, the executives that made the decision to get rid of this guy. And it obviously, I get why they did it. They didn't want to burn him anymore. You didn't want to waste Saquon Barkley, have him here on a team that's not going to do anything. Go ahead. If he's eating up the cap and you want to really rebuild, send them to somebody else. I think Giants fans were hurt because they sent him to arch rival, one of the historic great rivalries in the NFL between the Giants and the Eagles. I also believe that if the Giants were any better or were half competitive as a team, he might have gotten booed just in the spirit of things. But Giants fans, if they wanted to be real with themselves, they'd say, we stink. Saquon looks like he's happy. He looks like he's a fun player still. It looks like he still has juice. I'm going to cheer for this guy and hopefully see him thrive and do something with the team that he couldn't do due to our ineptitudes as a team.
I'm going to cheer for Malik Neighbors to figure out a way to get the fuck out of New York. I feel so bad for that kid. He's back. He already has 4 catches. But watching the Giants, and they've vomited this statistic out 100 times today about Daniel Jones not accounting for a touchdown in MetLife Stadium in 600 days. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Tor, by the time it was 206. I wrote down the time. He'd been sacked 4 times, and they had 35 yards of offense. And I'm watching this and saying, how do you people were fucking talking about, oh, how does Garrett and all these guys, Denzel Ward, how do they deal with Deshaun Watson? Deshaun Watson could physically go out there and throw a button hook. He could go out there and hand off. They can't do anything offensively at all, certainly not score. And Neighbors is just going to get the first part of his career wasted. And he seems like he's talented enough to overcome it and kind of do what Terry does and do what some of these other wide receivers are, that it doesn't matter. They're going to go out and get theirs. But man, I hope he can engineer, orchestrate a way to get out of New York at some point.
And Neighbors, this is it's almost like you can see the villain arc for wide receivers happening, because when they lost to Washington, he had a very professional, accountable press conference after the game where he was asking questions. He was being honest. He took responsibility for a drop late in the game. He wasn't throwing anybody under the bus. But we know if the locker room knows that you're talented and you're not getting done right by your team, by your quarterback, by your offense, by your coaches, eventually the frustrations are going to mount to a point where you are more verbal about it. And I think that's why wide receivers start getting a little feisty with the media. Yeah. They start tweeting, some not harsh things, but they start being more verbal about their displeasure, is because I'm physically being handcuffed from being able to do my job at maximum capacity, not because I'm not running my routes, but because of total incompetency from the quarterback position.
I don't know how to feel about I was watching the early game, and Jacksonville wins convincingly, 32 points. Doug Peterson gets to take the plane ride home. God bless him. Whatever. I don't root for guys to have to fly overseas and get whacked. They've been out of their beds for 2 weeks straight because they have a wackadoo franchise. I don't know if you're New England, Tor, how you view that as anything but a giant win for your team. First of all, winning, I don't like to play. I don't know how you feel about this. I hate when fans play we should keep losing so we get a better draft capital. That rots the team from the inside. Nobody that actually plays the game feels that way. These guys are sacrificing life and limb. I don't fucking ever buy that shit. I want to win. I want the Titans to beat the Bills today, even though it doesn't mean anything. The fact that Drake May went out there, and it wasn't that he clearly is, making more plays than Jacoby Brissett. He's throwing for touchdowns. He's running all over the field. Hunter Henry looks like a Pro Bowl tight end all of a sudden. If I'm sitting there, I'm looking like that big lurch was the biggest enigma out of these, even more than like Spencer Rattler. Like, guys, Drake May is like, everyone said he needs work. He needs to sit for a year. We're not even halfway through the season. He's on a bad fucking team. And he went out there looking like, I'm a first-round draft pick and I've got potential. If I'm a Patriots fan, you might have had the biggest win of the fucking week simply because your guy he's not out there looking completely lost like some of these other draft picks have.
You should be happy that the bones are there. I despise the tank, the call for the tank. There are people in DC that have been begging for tanks over and over again, prominent media guys. And it's just like, I remember one year we had in college, we had one win and we were going to a final game against Villanova. And I think Villanova was like fighting for a top spot in the CAA. And we were just like, yeah, the season was shot. The season was shot in week 4. We kind of knew it, but we won that game in the last week. And I'll never forget just how happy we felt just to get a win, to feel the win. We could have just mailed it in. Everyone could have mailed it in. Everyone was ready to just go home for break, get drunk with their hometown friends, do all that. But when the game time started, there's nothing else on the mind but win. Nothing. Nobody's talking about the party afterwards. Nobody's talking about how much we stink or how much it doesn't matter. We're going out on the field to play football. And we played football. We got a win, and it didn't matter at the end of the day. But to us, it did. So that tank stuff, you can miss me with every single ounce of it. Because all these guys are going out to play football. It matters at some point to them.
You're going to have to explain to me because I don't watch them as closely. I don't know what to think of the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know what to think about what they are potentially this season. I certainly don't know what to think about Geno Smith, who is out there at times against what I think is a good Falcons team, looking like a fucking MVP, running the ball, throwing the ball. He's got 2 touchdowns already. DK Metcalf is a fucking week removed from cursing out his offensive coordinator over the loudspeaker, and they are walking up the Falcons' ass right now in the dirty. And both of these teams are enigmas to me. And if usually you say, all right, well, I'm looking to look at this line. They're not giving the ball enough to Bijan. He's got 20 attempts. Well, they're definitely not targeting Kyle Pitts enough. He hasn't been part of the. No. He's got 7 receptions for 65 yards. Well, we got to get Drake London involved. No. He's got five targets in the first half. If you fucking told me the way the Falcons were playing and they're playing the Seahawks, I'd be like, well, they're up 15. And they're not. They're getting their doors blown off. I don't understand either one of those franchises and where they are right now.
I'm going to approach this one unbiasedly as much as I can.
I don't think that's possible.
Atlanta won't win if their stars are getting big numbers. They just won't. If it's Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod show, then they're going to win this game, and they would have won by 20. It's not, though. Seattle plays a suffocating zone, and Geno is doing like savvy vet stuff in the pocket where it's not like he's breaking out 20-yard runs, but he's making a guy miss and extending a play, staying in the pocket. He's making 2 guys miss and looking downfield, doing like really savvy vet stuff in the pocket. And an undisciplined pass rush from Atlanta and a pass rush that just doesn't get home will get picked apart by that. Yeah. So the defense got a big strip fumble touchdown just now against Kirk. Happens. Kirk tried to roll out. Kirk's 36 with a bad leg. Still, I take that. I chalk it up to the game. But the Seattle defense decided to show up. Atlanta sleepwalks into halftime every time. They gave up a big touchdown right before half where they could have at least held them to a field goal. It's just a coaching thing where they want to take games off, it looks like, or halves or drives off, where I think we forget it's the NFL. The good teams just don't do that. And if they do, then it's an absolute ass chewing the next day. I don't know. The team is not complete yet. The team doesn't know how to fully win with this roster yet. And under this coaching staff, it's still, I guess, too new. But Seattle is just wants it more today,
I guess. But Mike McDonald is not Pete Carroll, right? But the Seahawks, they continue to have that identity of, you're not getting a week off with us. They're not as talented as Atlanta is. They've got some nice pieces. And I think Mike McDonald's a real smart, savvy guy. And I'm sure that they've all bought it. And he's from a great coaching tree. But if you just go blow by blow, like match up their best pass rusher, match up their quarterback, like it doesn't add up. The only thing that adds up is that the Falcons are pussies and the Seahawks are never pussies. Never. Even when they're not good, they're going to fight and claw and strut and preen. And like, that's just kind of the makeup of that franchise. It reminds me a little bit, Torrin, this is too high a praise, but it reminds me a little bit of the Steelers, where it's just like, oh man, we might beat these guys because they don't have a lot of talent, but we're gonna need to ice down after this. And I get that vibe whenever the Seahawks go out there and do something that I'm not expecting them to do.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. They have 2 great corners that play hard. They draft guys that tackle. They draft guys that like to hit. They draft dogs. And
he got that dog in him. I came up with that.
It's a team that got that dog in him. And Kenneth Walker is he comes back. He has a big
I thought he was
illness.
hurt. I thought he was injured.
The speculation is that he had fun on his birthday on Saturday or Friday night.
I did not see that.
And he had maybe an illness, which could have been, we need you to go sweat it out, pal.
Sure.
And now he's got 2 touchdowns on the game. And it's just the little things. Like Atlanta has 4 false start penalties at home. Impossible. That just can't happen. They had 3 on their first drive. That's just inexcusable. Just not focused type football. But yeah, Seattle is just making less crucial mistakes in the moments when it matters. And I think for the most part, Kirk's been playing okay. They just can't get out of their own way as a full offense or defense today.
I see Clamp belly aching in the fucking chat, but I honestly don't want to fucking hear it, because if the Dolphins, I mean, they're tied right now, right? It's 10-10. It's the fourth quarter. The Colts are some ass. There's some hoes. If the Dolphins win the game, they're 500, and then they're getting Tua back. And I understand it's frustrating that Jalen Waddle doesn't have any targets. Tyreek Hill doesn't have any targets, but you have ass at quarterback. They didn't plan accordingly. What the fuck did you think was going to happen? It's at, and here's another part about it. I think maybe it was Eisen making this point, or maybe it's Pelissaro. I forget. But he said, you cannot go into if you expect anything this season, you can't go into a season with Spencer Rattler as your primary backup. Like, you've got to have a guy, like, you can have Spencer Rattler on your team, but you've got to have a guy that can go in and keep your team competitive for a couple of weeks. And it's the teams that don't have that are fucking exposed on a weekly basis. And teams that do, like the Indianapolis Colts, when they realize what they have to do, they go out and Joe Flacco wins them a couple of games. And I think that you're just seeing that with the Dolphins, is that it was Tua or it's not going to work, and Tua's not in there right now. And that's why they're playing like some ass. And they're still fucking in a position to be in contention in that division when he comes back if they figure out a way to win today.
You don't think Anthony Richardson being 8 for 21 with 103 yards passing is indicative enough of him deserving that number one spot right now?
Are you watching? Did you watch Red Zone today? Did you watch? Because that game's not.
I've been watching. Yeah.
Did you see his fumble? Like it's little things. Like he fumbles the football, and then instead of just falling on it, he's still running and trying to pick it up and be Superman. It's like, motherfucker, fall on the ball. He's still initiating contact with DBs. How
running
many
down the
fucking weeks
field,
later?
just running right into guys. I made this point today. It's not his fault that he got overdrafted. He wasn't a top 10 quarterback if we're looking at it from the actual quarterback perspective. The Colts decided to take a shot. I think the GM tried to do the Shanahan buy myself 3 years with a young quarterback that's full of athletic potential, like similarly what he did with Trey Lance. But what happened with Trey Lance? Couldn't play quarterback, and they shipped him off to Siberia, backing up Dak Prescott. They made a decision quickly after and knowing if he's a guy or not. And again, I go back. He made one big throw in week 1. That was great. Big throw. That was fun.
And we knew he had that. That's why he was in the position that he was in, where he was unjustifiably drafted too high because people saw those flashes. But you already had that information. That wasn't new information, which is more surprising. And then I look, the Joe Flacco is of a higher quality than Mason Rudolph, but I don't know what you have a playoff team. You've got you can go to the playoffs with Joe Flacco as your quarterback. You can contend for that division. No disrespect to the Texans, who are wearing some fucking great uniforms today, by the way. The contrast between the icy whites for the Packers and then the all blues for the Texans, that's a fucking sharp looking football game that's happening right now.
I've been somewhat opposed to the Green Bay icy whites.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't feel right to see them with a white helmet. It should always be the yellow helmet, in my opinion, just because it's the helmet of football. It's the first thing you think about when you think of football is the Green Bay Packers yellow helmet. At least that's for me. Kirk, awesome backbreaking pick. But
live commentary as it happens from Radio's Gigantor.
I think that it's fine. It's not offensive enough for me to fully poo the jersey. But yeah, it's a good contrast and a fun game between two playoff teams. It really is. Houston and Green Bay, if you could sign me up for them to play a home and home every single game, every single year, I'd like to see it. I want to see these two teams play each other.
I want to see the Titans trade DeAndre Hopkins. I want to see, now it's fucking over. And you have to move on from Levis in the offseason. So what you need is a proper fucking teardown now. And I'm not even necessarily blaming Callahan. I'm not blaming the new administration. That's very difficult to deal with. That ownership is way more into making statements and publicly the way their hires are going to look than actually building a winner. And when Mike Vrabel gets hired by one of these teams next year and goes right back to the playoffs, I think that narrative will continue. But you need to tear it down. And you found out your quarterback can't play, which is good. You have that information. Let's not continue to move forward with that. What did you think before we get to everything else that's going on? I didn't know I pulled this, Tor. I know that it's not, a consolation to your team losing, but Dennis Allen, the head coach of the New Orleans Saints, came out after that loss to Bo Nix, Sean Payton on Drew Brees night, by the way, in the Superdome, and he had some things to say about the performance that the Saints had. I figured you'd appreciate that.
It was that second game, we got our ass kicked, or the second half, we just got our ass totally kicked. We couldn't do diddly poo offensively. We couldn't make a first down. We couldn't run the ball. We didn't try to run the ball. We couldn't complete a pass. We sucked. The second half, we sucked. We couldn't stop the run. Every time they got the ball, they went down and got points. We got our ass totally kicked in the second half. That's what it boiled down to. It was a horse performance in the second half. Horse. I'm totally embarrassed and totally ashamed. Coaching did a horrible job. The players did a horrible job. We got our ass kicked in that second half. It sucked. It stunk.
I'd rather lose for that man than win for Mike McDaniel. That popped up on my feed after the Saints game, and I grabbed it. I was like, "Oh, that's a less famous one than the playoffs rant, of course."
I had a great time on Thursday night watching that just collapse, that combustion.
Holy shit.
From New Orleans. And you know what? Spencer Rattler, I turned around on him because he got eaten up at Oklahoma, and he was supposed to be like the next coming. And then didn't work. He had to go to South Carolina when they weren't good, won some scrappy games, improved, looked like his attitude improved a lot since high school where he was a real shitbag. And then he really he got better. And I liked it. I liked seeing him like just mature. So I wasn't necessarily rooting against Rattler, but Drew Brees night, Drew Brees giving a cringy, awful speech at halftime to those stupid fans in their bad dome. We took the Mercedes-Benz from you also. Enjoy Caesars, losers. That was awesome. I love seeing Bo Nix run for 40-yard carries just up the sideline with his blazing speed. I hate Sean Payton, but I like seeing him get some get back on that team also. And seeing the Saints lose, it gives me a buffer for the rest of the week. It's all that matters to me.
Well, it's also, as a fan of a team, I would rather not suffer under delusion. And their coach came out and said, we've got game film of us playing well. I've got 2 weeks worth of, and look, to be fair, how long ago was that Saints Kansas City game? They were competitive in that. They went out there, but you need to know who you are. And, Sean Payton plays hard. That Broncos team's going to play defense. They're going to punch you in the mouth. And I think, but to me, Bo Nix is Levis if Levis wasn't a waterhead. Like, he can run, he can kind of do a couple of things, but he doesn't turn the ball over, Tor, and they run for touchdowns. And I mean, I think Bo Nix in year 3 might be something special, but I haven't seen anything from him that's all that mind-bending right now. It's just that looks like a Sean Payton-led team with a Sean Payton picked quarterback doing what he was supposed to do from the jump. But to full circle, I don't mean to filibuster. I'd rather know I suck. I'd rather know we suck, and I'd rather get punched in the mouth. And you can't lose to Sean Payton at home on Drew Brees Day. Not just lose, but get gangbanged and think that you're going anywhere. So, the Saints fans know what they are now, and that's why they're leaving in the second quarter, and Alvin Kamara is walking back trade requests or whatever the fuck that was all about this week.
Bo Nix hasn't been bad enough for him to have an odd incompletion in the first quarter and have everybody on the internet like crashing down on him. Okay. I don't know what like he split. He had a pass where he threw it between 2 open receivers, fell right in between them. He obviously got scrambled in his head, made a decision and just threw right in between them. And I saw everybody posting that clip, like relishing in the fact that Bo Nix made a mistake, relishing in it. And then they go to war for other rookie quarterbacks that have performed worse. I genuinely don't know what he did to these people. He wasn't taken in the top 5. He wasn't projected as the 1 or 2 or the 3 quarterback in this class. Why is everyone so upset with Bo Nix? He's not lighting the world on fire. He's throwing maybe at best 2 touchdown passes a game, and he'll run for 60 yards.
Yeah.
He'll have some goofball stuff in the pocket. His feet aren't always great. But what is this? Or do we just want Denver to be atrocious for the rest of our lives? I don't get it. Denver's never made an impact on me, except for those 2 years that they had Peyton, where he was throwing 50 touchdowns a year. Other than that, I'm fine with Denver just being Denver. I don't get the Knicks hate so far throughout the year.
I just got a message from Pope's Collectibles. No BTOS today. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking? Anyway, thank you for those of you that are here. Hit the like button, you cowards. Oh, and by the way, since none of you are super chatting, that's fine. You can keep your money. But then I absolutely fucking insist that you go out and do me a favor, Tor. I don't know if you saw this. You should be very, very impressed. We got, it's not often everybody gets picked up for big time merchandising deals like we do on this show. And we've got our own hot sauce, both types of sports, NFL discussion on the internet, hot sauce. It is available on CommonwealthDryGoods.com. Douse your burritos in spicy hot football takes. Small batch of 12. So if you're going to just sit there and taking all this expert analysis by Mason Shudoff and Trev Tor Lawrence, you fucking go get yourself a zesty bottle of sauce on CommonwealthDryGoods.com. I don't know if a burrito doused in spicy hot football takes would be all that fucking... It probably would taste pretty earthy, I'm thinking, Tor.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it, though. I've had worse burritos. I've had burritos 5-day-old burritos.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, 5-day-old burritos that I've enjoyed plenty. So I can get down with. I'm very flexible with burrito consumption.
I had some 18-hour-old tippies for breakfast, and as much as I love tippies, don't know if that was the move for the Schuster and all the stomach goodness. Well, I'm trying to make it all the way through the late game. I can't see it right now. Bill Chesley, $4.99. Would tush push be less annoying if it was a team used by a team other than the Eagles? It's lame, and I hate it, even if it works. Are you talking about the name, or are you talking about the actual play itself? Because they could get rid of it's just a quarterback sneak, right? Like I am in what is that penalty they call it, Tor? Is it leaping, where you're not allowed to fucking launch yourself off a person when you're blocking an extra point or a field goal? Is that what it's called?
You're not allowed to touch another player if you do want to jump over the bent over lineman.
Yeah, and I thought there was you're not allowed to, as an offensive lineman, grab the quarterback and carry him into the end zone. You're allowed to push a pile. But I really think there's some leeway in the offseason where you could get that sport out if they wanted to. I think they think it's exciting. I think there's anticipation. You hear a roar in the crowd when the Eagles are annoying. And I think tush push is super, the word we used to be able to use. It really doesn't belong in football. And Collinsworth loves it. Collinsworth is single-handedly beating it into my subconscious. So I don't know. Is it just an Eagles annoying? I think tush push itself is just an annoying way to refer to a play in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't like that. I think the NFL likes that it's more fourth downs that are being converted, more offense staying on the field. And that's why they don't want to get rid of it or completely annihilate it, because it ties into their analytics that they could throw out on the screen every third down from whoever that says you should go for it on 4th and 6. Hey, you should do it. Go for it. Don't punt. Never punt. Never play football. And I think that's why they like it, and they won't ever fully eradicate it, because it feeds into their dorky analytic, keep the offense on the field as much as possible.
This is the third time this season I have to do this, and I really don't like it. I have never. That is a fantastic point. Don't know why I've never thought of that.
Oh, thank you.
They want to keep the loser dog shit offenses on. It's perfect. It's exactly what they're doing. It's why they neuter the defenses. All of the fucking penalties are around the offense and pass interference, and let's keep these offenses on the field. The stupid tush push is a great way for them to keep offenses on the field, and that's why every fucking carnival barker in the NFL that calls the football game has clearly been given the mandate, bring up those analytics. Those analytics say go for it. Those analytics say go for 2. Those analytics say keep the offenses on the field. Why am I so fucking stupid? I was on the journey and not looking at the destination. That is what I was fucking doing. And you're a 22-year-old pissant motherfucker.
This season, I've overly said. No,
you've had some gems this season already, Tor. I fucking hate this.
It's the whole machine. My eyes are starting to get open in my, angst period of NFL watching, and that's where I don't think it's all a conspiracy all the time, but when I start seeing narratives being pushed that have never been pushed before, it's starting to get a little more telling what they're really after.
What they're really after is flag football, right? We went from no flag football commercials to 35 commercials every time I watch a football game, they're bringing a girls flag football team out in front of everybody to virtue signal. Who cares if girls play? I don't want to sound cold, but who cares if girls play football? If they want to, fine. I got no problem with it. But why is it such a fucking big deal for the NFL? And maybe it's just because they keep changing the kickoffs. They keep changing the tackling, hip drop tackling, horse collar tackling, head slap. Is eventually they want to be able to make the same amount of money without any of the lawsuits and the concussion shit. And we care about flag football. I don't see that ever happening.
Yeah, it's collapsing tradition, so more nerds can get in on the big money gambit, because the NFL has to be one of the most profitable entities in. Oh, Kirk, another backbreaking interception. Why not? Why not go out with a little bit of style? 14 points. That's awful. I mean, Jesus. They weren't going to win, but I needed at least 17. Good God, overthrew.
Oh, Kirk, another backbreaking. Oh boy, Lord in heaven.
But yeah, it's just more getting non-football people involved in football, and it's I don't even know if they like football. I like football. I've never felt the need to change the sport. I really haven't.
Here's what I'm going to tell you, and what you're going to learn is because you like football is why they don't care about you, and they know they have you, and they know you ain't going anywhere, so they just are going after all these nerds and all these weirdos that they don't think are customers right now, and they could potentially be customers one day. Colts have taken the lead. It's a blowout there, Seahawks. The Packers are up 21-19 at the 2-minute warning, but the Texans have the football at the Green Bay 12. That is a monstrous game, Tor, especially with Vikings and Lions. That's a nut hugger. 5:50 left. Vikings up 1. I'm surprised by that. Even in Minnesota, I predicted this Tor statement game that the fucking Lions were going to go in there and beat the shit out of Minnesota and show everybody who the class of that division is. But imagine if Minnesota holds on, they're undefeated, and they've got to win like that, because everyone's wanted to discount their winning streak the entire season already. How are you going to fucking say anything if they hang 30 on the Lions and are still at tops of that division?
It's possible Detroit had like a 28-10 lead at some point in this game.
They did. They were blowing them out.
Yeah, 12 unanswered in the fourth. That's not good for Detroit. I thought Detroit was going to ride off the momentum. They seem like a big vibes team that is fired up and was the class of the NFC. And maybe the Vikings are just playing better real deal football. I mean, Detroit had some big plays. Amon-Ra St. Brown's having a good game. Jahmyr Gibbs is having a great game. Jesus. Yeah, I'm going to have to dive into this one to see what the hell happened, because Detroit's good. Minnesota's good. Good God. How is this happening? How could it happen? It looked like it was gone. It looked like, wow, Detroit cementing themselves. Minnesota might really just be, they're not this fake paper tiger 7-0 team that we've seen in years past. This is a different type of team from them. It looks like top to bottom. That is impressive.
They're well coached. They got great quarterbacking play right now. It's very efficient. They can play defense. They've got a MVP candidate, at least they should, in running back when he's healthy. Aaron Jones coming back there having an impact, and they have the best wide receiver. I mean, Jerry Rice, when he was playing, Tor, was the best football player in the NFL. Lawrence Taylor was the best football player in the NFL. Like, we always look at this like it's got to be a quarterback. Justin Jefferson might be the best football player in the NFL, and they've got that guy, and he bails them out time and time again. And we talked about this. How many times does Sam Darnold just throw the ball in his direction and there's a flag? Or he pulls one in and drags the tape. I mean, there's something good happens 65-70% of the time he throws the ball in his direction.
It's a smart play. I think that who is the dummy? Anybody in Miami.
Hi.
All the Miami.
I got the dummy right here, by the way. I don't know if you saw the dummy, but this is the dummy right here.
Oh yeah, Jesus Christ!
Of all the dramatic things I have ever seen. My tweet's getting some run. I don't know if anybody. I think there's a couple of Yankees fans that think I'm being serious in there. I see a lot of wow profile pictures that are liking this tweet so far.
Oh, that's so funny.
Roger Clemens is standing in Yankee Stadium. Of all the dramatic things. Oh man, the fact that lady now is the one calling those games. Holy shit.
I thought Sterling retired. He's still calling. He's still making calls. What is this rope-a-dope with
sitting
this
up there?
But
I don't know, man.
To the Justin Jefferson point, if I was Miami, right, and I saw that we were going to have a bunch of bags of wet hair throwing the ball, and playing quarterback, wouldn't I try to target Tyreek Hill at least once every single set of downs? I would just throw it. I would just throw it in his vicinity. That's not just because he has 0.0 fantasy points for my team this week, and it's collectively gotten less points as the weeks go on. But just generally, throw it. Just make something happen. No one's expecting you to go out and win this game, backup quarterback. But they want to see you try to throw it to the guys that could possibly win the game with the game-breaking speed and the game-breaking strength and the jitteriness, but just not targeting, not completing the ball to him. And I thought Miami was supposed to be this brilliant machine of manufacturing offense and play design. And we're just not getting our best player on the entire team the ball at all. It's super backwards. They have done nothing in these past weeks to instill any confidence that when Tua gets back, this is going to be a different team. I don't know. It looks rough.
It looks rough, but it is. Having a bad backup quarterback is nothing that hasn't happened before. And look, they didn't look like world beaters with him out there, but he can run that offense. It's a very complex offense. A chain is back. Like, you're getting some of your pieces back as well. The Ferrari is still just sitting there idling. You just have to they need to figure out a way to win this game. Like, they need to figure out a way to get the ball back and try to put themselves in a position to do it against the Colts, because I think 2-4 has a much different feel than 2-2. or even 2-3, Gigantor. Like once you start getting there, and that's why all of this shit with the Jets, like I know Hassan Reddick's coming back, and that's great, and you traded for Devontae Adams, and that's great, but you're sitting at 2-4. Like, what do they have to put together for the rest of the season? They have to win 8 games, right? Like, you got to win 8 games. Do you have to win 9 games? I don't know. Like, you kind of, this should have happened before the loss to the Bills and the coach firing. If you wanted to go on this run tonight is going to be very, very interesting. I'm more interested in Jets versus Steelers than I am Chiefs against the rematch there. I think that's the biggest game of the week.
The seeing if this Devontae Adams trade really does cure all woes will be interesting. They get the Steelers 2 weeks. They get the Texans. They can bounce back and bully the Patriots on the 27th. Cardinals, they should beat them. Colts, they should beat them. Seahawks, dogfight. It's not impossible for the Jets. Actually, they got some games here. I mean, their hardest game coming up, the hardest 2 that they have is the Steelers and the Texans, and that's in the next 3 weeks. So
what do you think about the decision to go back? Well, not even go back, to go to Russell Wilson in a really big game from the Steelers right now?
I think Justin Fields said all the right things, and he said, I did not do enough to cement myself as the definitive one, but I don't think he did enough to cement himself as being somebody that could be replaced by Russell Wilson. Right. That is not he wasn't that bad. He's brought them to 4-2. 4-2.
Here's what I'm gonna tell you. Here's what I think is going on is they look at that 4-2 and they say, this is good enough to do what we always do, right? We can win 9 games, 10 games, get into the wild card. Maybe we win a playoff game, maybe we don't. But I think they're looking at Justin Fields and saying, we've seen a lot of Justin Fields. And yes, his athleticism causes mismatches. And yes, we have a good record. But what if Russell Wilson isn't dog water? What if he isn't the guy that we saw his first year in Denver, but he's closer to the guy in the second year, and now he's with our team? I think they want to see if Russell Wilson can give them a slightly higher ceiling of potential because, Tor, it's Pittsburgh. Going to the playoffs is never going to be enough for Pittsburgh. They want to fucking contend for a championship. And if they can see it now, and they got a bye week coming up where Russell Wilson goes out there and throws 3 interceptions and spews all his catchphrases and is a weirdo, okay, good. We'll put Justin back in there. We know exactly what we have. But maybe, just maybe, he goes out there and looks really good against the savvy Jets defense. And, we're that much better than we thought we were with Justin Fields.
You may have nailed it. They get the Jets and then the Giants. They have a 2-game buffer here at 4-2, where they could just sit here and be like, we could be 4-4, and we know that we're going to win more games than lose them with Justin Fields. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it's just strictly we're gonna take a shot and see if this guy is at least a little bit better. I don't see how. I don't know if it's possible. I saw some awful quarterbacking from him in the last couple of years with Russ. I mean, just really unfortunate quarterback play.
I agree, but we haven't seen him with Arthur Smith, and we haven't seen him with Mike Tomlin, and we haven't seen him in black and yellow, and we haven't seen him with that home field. I'm with you. I think the odds are that Russell Wilson isn't but what he once was. I also think that they owe it to themselves with this opportunity, and he never lost the starting job. He was going to be the starter, and he was hurt.
Yeah,
and I trust. This is Tomlin. I trust this organization to do something slightly wackadooish. You trust Russell Wilson starting for the Steelers or Devontae Adams being traded for by the Jets? I mean, you know the fucking end of that. And Devontae Adams is way more impactful at this stage in his career than Russell Wilson probably is in his. But it's the fucking Jets, so they have not earned my trust or anyone else's trust.
Yeah, it also could be if Russell Wilson goes out and loses 2 tragic games, then we definitely know we have the fan support for keeping Fields in the whole time. We don't have to hear any of the calls. We don't have to see any of the tweets about, we got the guy sitting on the bench right here. He's Super Bowl champion. And no, you don't have to hear that anymore because you saw him maybe go out there and lay an egg.
Did you think there was a lot of that? I mean, they always talk about how awful Pittsburgh is as far as like a sports talk radio town. Like it's just fucking brutal. But do you think there was a lot of Steelers fans saying we got to see what Russell Wilson has? I got the sense that they were content with Fields.
I thought it was just a situation where they were happy winning games, getting by, matriculating the ball down the field. And they knew it's not pretty wins. It's not like they're going out winning, 30-10, but they're winning. And it's kind of playing Steelers traditional football where it's just gritty madness, and they're going to come out at the end of the day with a win, and they got a good kicker that can nail everything from 60 and in, and he could even hit a 60-yarder. Like, there's a lot of good pieces of this Steelers team to keep them winning, no matter who the quarterback is, even though it's the most important position on the field.
I guess what happened is that StreamYard's having a difficult thing with Facebook, so the 6 people that watch this show on Facebook don't know that we're on. That's always just a beautiful thing to try to read while you're doing a show. I put this out earlier, and I really like Joseph Reed, but this is really a mouth-breathing response that he gave to this tweet. If you didn't enjoy watching Nick Chubb take the ball into the end zone on a 4th down call in those Cleveland uniforms that they were wearing today, this game isn't for you. Like, to see him overcome that injury and get back out there, the fucking apex running back, dragon, fucking unstoppable juggernaut, dream face, big cock guy that he is. Like, fuck it. That's what it's all about. It was a feel-good feeling. And then I love Joseph Reed. I've met him 100 times. Unless you have Cincinnati in a survivor pool. Get fucked. Watch football for footballs. Somebody needs to watch football because they enjoy it still in this country. And maybe it's just you and I. And I'm not saying you can't play fantasy or make bets. I do that shit. But fuck me if you can have a conversation now with anyone just about the game that's on TV. It's almost like it's a dying industry, and we're gonna it's every single fucking show is gonna be about betting, fantasy, and analytics in the next 5 years.
Yeah, it is frustrating. You want to sit down and watch the game with your boys, and it's not an appreciation for the game. The focus is just always elsewhere. And then, I mean, you just, who doesn't love Nick Chubb? He's made no. He's made no waves in the NFL aside from being one of the best running backs that we've seen in the last 10 years. Just genuinely one of the best. He's strong as hell. He's fast. He doesn't wear gloves. He's not going out there. Everyone clamors for the era of Barry Sanders, toss the ball to the ref. That's how I celebrate. I act like I've been there before. Nick Chubb is the closest you're going to get. He doesn't go out there swagged up. He just is a football player that apparently seems to love playing football. If I took a 10th, watch that, a 20th of the injury that he took last season,
100th for me, 100th.
I'd never leave my room ever again. No. I just wouldn't. There's nothing I love more that I love enough to have overcome that. And he's back and scoring a touchdown. It's generally a miracle of modern science and the will of a football player to go back out on the field for a bad team.
I don't think you know this off the top of your head, or maybe you could look it up. Why wasn't Jameis up? Why was Jameis Winston inactive for this game? Because you got, I'm not saying that it would have been any different. The Bengals are a much better team, but Thompson Robinson, we've seen him. We've seen, what he's capable of. I couldn't believe when I looked out there. I said, "Oh wow, Deshaun Watson is out of the game, and Jameis Winston is not available to play football today." I thought that was beyond bizarre, and that would have been great for Browns fans. Looks like that the Packers held on to beat the Houston Texans. That is very impressive. The Lions have the ball with a minute left. They're still down 1 in Minnesota. So it'll be interesting to see the way the NFC North shakes out today. Dolphins have the ball down 6. There's 11 seconds left. I can't imagine that looks good. What else? The Bills are just absolutely routing Tennessee. So that is a wrap, Jack. Why are the Panthers and Commanders playing at 4:00? How the fuck did that?
I don't know.
Did you find out why Jameis wasn't available?
It just says he was just demoted to that third string position. It's incompetence is what it's being reported as most by the
what?
Browns, and that DTR is a younger option with more mobility. That it's just, I don't know. There's something weird going on in that quarterback room.
Well, then trade everybody else then. I mean, if that's what we're doing here, because maybe Amari Cooper was the white flag. Like maybe it is, we're done competing for this year. We'd rather evaluate this guy more because we know who Jameis Winston is. Good to see Amari Cooper, by the way, immediately go and catch a touchdown and show you that, I mean, he's got 5 days of time spent with that offense, and he's already making an impact. That guy could be a huge difference maker down the stretch for Buffalo.
It's what he does. He just shows up in a new place. He's been traded 3 times before 30. And he just contributes and he scores touchdowns. And if there's a quarterback that can hit him in the vicinity, then he's going to make a play. He's a good wide receiver, and Buffalo needed a good wide receiver, and I think it really makes them a solid competitor. The white as that window's not closed yet. I was boarding up the window with my storm hammer and my storm nails and everything prepared for them to just be shut-ins. And they're still fighting. They're still competing, and they're making big-time decisions. It was an infinitely bigger move for Buffalo to add him than it was for New York to add Adams, in my opinion. Way more impactful.
Huh. I'm looking at this here, and I'm trying to assess. So the Seahawks win clearly. The 49ers get Chiefs today, and Cardinals are 2-4. Rams are in a real bad way, but they get to play the Raiders. Maybe they get away. I don't know. If the 49ers lose to the Chiefs today, and we still have a bunch of injury concern with them, they just feel off. I don't want to say this is as big a game for San Francisco at home as it is for the Jets on the road in Pittsburgh against the Steelers. Like, the Jets just numerically need to have a win. And also after making all these moves toward the is Reddick playing? Do we know that? I did not see anything concrete on that before we went live today. The question I was going to ask you is the Niners Chiefs at the same level of intensity, the dire need for a win as Jets Steelers? I'm not sure it's there at that point.
The Niners couldn't have drawn the Chiefs in a worse week.
I agree.
Sitting at 3-3, that loss to the Cardinals looks uglier and uglier. The loss to the Rams is ugly. And then I know they dismantled the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football a couple weeks ago. Fine. That's fine. But this really is not good. You're sitting at 3-3. And then, I mean, they get back next week, Sunday Night Football versus the Cowboys. If that could have flipped, they'd be 4-3 versus the Chiefs. I think they have some momentum. But then they got to play the Buccaneers, scrappy. Then they got to play the Seahawks again, in division, scrappy. Then they get the Packers, then the Bills. This is a daunting stretch for the Niners, and if they want to really get right, they need to do it today. This is a must win because they easily could lose 3 of their next 4 or 5 of their next 6 rather. Good God. Yeah, that's a gauntlet.
I think the Jets need the win more, but I think it's a bigger statement for the 49ers because the shift of expectation has completely gone towards Detroit and now Minnesota, I think, in the NFC. Maybe the Philadelphia Eagles the past couple of weeks are crawling back into that conversation. I can't really see it. I'm interested to see this following week's conversations. If the Commanders go out there and do what they should do, take care of business against Carolina, the Eagles are coming off this big win. I think people are very comfortable shoveling dirt on the Dallas Cowboys right now. How the narrative switches for the NFC East. But yeah, man, this would be quite a statement if the 49ers could go out there and figure out a way to beat an undefeated Chiefs team right now.
At this moment, the 3 best teams in the NFC are in the NFC North, the way I'm looking at it. And Detroit just went and hit a field goal. Just 15 seconds left for Minnesota.
Wow.
It's really an incredible division this year. We should all be so lucky that we're getting to watch. And it's the beginning of the year. It's a treat. There's so much slop during this time of teams trying to find their identity. These NFC North teams care about winning every single game. And every single game.
They play 4 quarters. You want to play the Bears when it starts getting cold and nasty outside? You want to start playing the Bears in fucking Chicago when December rolls around? I don't want to do that.
The teams that make the playoffs this year are the teams that didn't have the NFC North scheduled within their just at all. If you were playing any other conferences, you're good. You're probably going to have a baked in 3 wins anyways, just because you didn't have to play those monsters.
So the 1st and 10 Minnesota's on their own 30. They have 15 seconds left. Do you have that game on?
Yeah, I got it going right now.
Flip that over there, you crazy son of a bitch. 2 Monday night games, by the way, this week, friendos. I don't know how everybody's feeling about that. I feel everybody has started to cool on that a little bit. I still would rather have the option, even though Chargers Cardinals doesn't necessarily light my fire, but Ravens Buccaneers, man, steamed up for that. What's the line on that fucking game? I'll throw some money on that. I gotta say, man,
Baltimore 3.5.
The they started slow, but who would you pick to beat the Ravens right now? I mean, as good as the Buccaneers look, I don't like anybody matching up against that tandem of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Who the fuck is going to be able to game plan for them as we're watching them? What defense is fast enough and strong enough at the same time?
No, the AFC right now, I think a lot hinges on what happens today between Kansas City and San Francisco.
Right.
If it really is, if the Chiefs win convincingly, then we can at least start typecasting Chiefs Ravens AFC Championship, and that could be one of the best games we see all year. It'd at least be one of the most tantalizing matchups between the two. But right now, no, it's the Ravens. It's the Ravens conference as a whole. They have just looked so dominant and dominant early. Normally, it's the Ravens are just kind of middling, and then they catch fire late because they have the run game. Get the run game started early. Make people scared of that. Then you can maybe have more balance at the back end of the year.
If the NFC North is the best conference in football, then the AFC West has got to be right there nipping at their heels, right? The Broncos are 4-3. The Chargers have a winning record. The champions are still in that division. I mean, that's a murderer's row right there as well. And if the Chiefs lose to San Francisco today, that opens up a little bit for everybody else as well, because they still have, and they get all of the respect and the benefit of the doubt until they're eliminated from the playoffs. But they still have a bunch of injury concerns, Tor, and they're still not playing offensively. They haven't been playing well offensively now for almost a full season, and it still really doesn't matter.
All I'm getting is texts. Hey, who should I start today? Purdy or Mahomes? What? You stupid? Start Mahomes.
It's a weird spot to be in, though, and that's a conversation.
I'm gonna bet on San Fran today. Go ahead, you do that. Yeah. I am gonna be siding with history, and until the pattern changes, then we start having that discussion. But right now, that coach, that quarterback, that team, they just win. They just win football games.
This game looks like a wrap. Sam Darnold spiked the ball, stopped the clock, penalty on Minnesota, legal formation, 5 yards enforced at the 50. There's 2 seconds left with the ball on the 45. It looks like here.
This is a gritty win. I know that's all Detroit wants to be, is known as gritty. That's a gritty ass win
on the road in that loud ass building.
Oh, that's massive.
An undefeated team. Yeah.
This could be just and Darnold sacked. Wow.
There it is. It's a wrap.
Monster win.
That is a statement win. Let's fucking watch San Francisco lose by double digits after the Lions go out there and do it. You think if the playoffs have got to go through Detroit this year, Aiden Hutchinson or no, who's going to go into that building and beat that team?
That city is fired up. And it's just, you find the coach, you find the quarterback. It brings a city to life. A city as destitute as we have seen in the United States of America has passion, has energy, has life, community, all of the stuff, everything that the American dream is built on. All that it comes down to is if you're living in a city with an NFL football team and they have a good coach and a good quarterback.
Oh, Giants put in Drew Lock. Oh boy. Josh Jacobs scores first career receiving touchdown. I would have gotten that wrong. Amari Cooper gets a touchdown catch over the Bills. The pop for Saquon was probably so Cooper Kupp's not playing because they got to play the Vikings in 4 days, right? That's what I would have to assume why he isn't going to be out there.
Yeah. It's just sitting rotting on the bench.
You bench David Flaccoberry, $2. Thank you, buddy. Hello, friend. I was just finished. If you're the Colts, do you have the balls to bench Anthony Richardson after a win?
I don't think they do. They couldn't. It's just they're going to
terrible performance by him.
They're going to hope that he keeps on getting better week to week. We're going to try to clean some things up. I liked how he was seeing some stuff. He was shaky on a couple things, but we'll get in the quarterback room. We'll try to work it out, and we're on to the next week. Okay, go on to the next week. It's going to look a lot like this week, and the week after that's going to look a lot like the last week.
10 for 24, 129 yards, 0 touchdowns. He rushed the ball 15 times, 46 yards. That's not even great. I don't know.
I'm not rooting for his failure. I'm never rooting for the failure of any NFL quarterbacks. But when people that are supposed to be covering the game start losing their minds just because a guy's 6'4", 240 pounds, and can throw a ball high, that's when I start seeing that there's a weird bias, and a lot of people are just trying to be first to the party of the quarterback, and they're just trying to be the first that was ringing the bell to prove that they were right about this guy. it's a weird way to analyze the quarterback position. Like last night, there was the Texas benched Quinn Ewers for Arch Manning before the half, and Dan Orlovsky was on the panel, and I think he gets a lot of unjustified criticism because he was a quarterback, and I think he does know a lot about the quarterback position. But he couldn't contain himself to be all in on Arch Manning for the number 1 ranked team who benched their quarterback before the half. He was just so excited to be the first one on the train in case Arch Manning went down and won the game so he could say he was right. I didn't think he truly believed it. I think it's just associating yourself like an avatar with quarterbacks.
But you don't think you're caring a little bit too much about people clout chasing quarterbacks? I mean, who gives a shit? Who cares? If there's all types.
Yeah.
I said Levis blew from the jump. I said he was not going to be a fucking player in this league, and I don't need people to recognize that or to move. I mean, I think you're too preoccupied with other people sucker fishing themselves onto quarterbacks. Is what it
I feel like it's tasteless, and I feel like a lot of people are better than that, and they're not. They completely disappoint me time in and time out.
I did what was the last thing I wanted to say? Oh, so Sam Darnold went 22 for 27, 259, had a pick and a touchdown, also rushed for 39 yards. What needs to happen for them to trade JJ McCarthy? Like, do they need to go to the Super Bowl? Like, if Sam Darnold takes them to the divisional round of the playoffs, like, do they say, all right, this is the guy that we're going to back the Brinks truck up for, and we're going to trade off this quarterback that we invested our future in? I wonder if there's even a scenario, or maybe it's if we don't win a championship, we still believe McCarthy's fucking ceiling is higher than Sam Darnold's is in this offense.
Yeah, if Minnesota was smart, they would pay Darnold and they would keep McCarthy, and we would just keep on rolling and it would be fine. But if they were dumb, then they would let Darnold walk and they would throw McCarthy in there and he would go out and they wouldn't have the success at all, half the success next year.
I don't think you can do both. I don't think you can just continue to. You got to make a decision, and I think unfortunately that's what Cleveland did, and they made the wrong decision. But that's Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers. You know what I mean? Like you can't give this guy a bunch of money and then be like, oh, but we still have the guy that we actually wanted in the first place, but he just got hurt just sitting here, because the second time he throws 2 interceptions in a row, you're going to have people calling for him.
The bummer is that Darnold in Minnesota is probably going to be the best version of Darnold that we see. So if some dumb team trades for him and tries to make him be the savior of their offense, I don't think it works like that. I think he really is vibing with the way that this offense runs. They have confidence in him. He has confidence in the players around him. He's being kept upright. A lot of the things that are working for him are working. But if you are a destitute franchise looking for a quarterback and you're just looking that, oh, Darnold did so good this year, let's pay him a bunch of money, I don't think it replicates that way. I think it's simply a situation where both parties, it's symbiotic. Both parties are thriving with each other. But it's the NFL, and we just can't have that happen for some reason. Someone's got to overpay for Darnold.
Let me give you a scenario. Sam Darnold, Matt Stafford gets traded. Sam Darnold's the starting quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams. You don't think he can go there and have incredible success?
You see, that wouldn't be bad. That would be good. But I could see the stupid Giants saying we're going to bring in Sam Darnold to save our team.
Well, he should retire. Rather than go back to New York, he should say, I'd rather just not make this money and be mentally healthy.
I would just dream of a Darnold going to LA, but there's just too many bad teams that are desperate.
I would dream of a Darnold. I love it. It sounds like a doo-wop song from 1956. Oh boy. All right, what are we looking at here? Bengals are fucking still holding on 21-12. Looks like the Commanders have already scored a touchdown, which is very interesting. Panthers got the ball. Now they're up 7-0. Rams and Raiders has kicked off, and we have a final. The Lions beat the Vikings in what could end up being the third. How about this? Lions, Vikings, and Packers beating the Texans could end up being the third and fourth biggest victories of this week tour. I know not a lot of winning teams are playing each other this week, but man, there's some epic fucking matchups.
Yeah, I think it was like before this week. I'm not sure if I have the exact stat, but like the NFC North was like 17-5 as a total division so far through this season. They're just dominant. They're better. They're better than everyone else. Their coaches are better. Their defenses play harder. They all commit to running the ball. Every single one of them commits to running the ball. It's a massive factor. It's not just air raid. It's we have a guy back here that we're going to hand the ball off to and be balanced and play football as football should be played.
All right. So you said that if you had Nick Chubb's injury, you wouldn't leave your bedroom for the rest of your life. Is that correct? Did I have that correct?
Yes.
So if you got shot on August 31st, would you be playing football for the 49ers today?
I'd be in my parents' basement having my mom bring me soup, even though my wound has already been closed, and I just would have packed it in. I would have lived in Old Town. I would have actually decided I'm living in Old Town Alexandria for the rest of my life, and I'm going to be drinking at Chadwick's when I'm 56, and it'll be a coronary at 58. No wife, no kids, coaching gym.
Sounds pretty stress-free, brother. Ricky Purcell is active today, and Juju Smith-Schuster both active today for the Niners and Chiefs, respectively. All right, very good. Well, I wish I could say this has been a pleasure. So now that your boys have gotten eviscerated, do we do the depression walk? Like, what's the rest of the afternoon look like?
Wasn't supposed to drink today. Really was not supposed to drink today. But maybe I'll go. Drink from probably 4:30 to 8:30.
That sounds nice.
And try to just kind of let the alcohol kill off all the bad feelings, like all the bad Atlanta germs watching this team. Just erode that, and then we'll just move on, take a shower, wake up an hour and a half earlier than I should because I would have to walk it off. So it's going to be an interesting one tomorrow.
I'm going to walk the dog. I'm going to have hangover diarrhea. And then I think we're going out to watch the late game at a watering hole. Nobody that watches this show will care. But if I told you, Tor, that the odds on Monk making it to December, not just fucking to Christmas, but to December, have completely switched over the last 12 hours in the way that he is conducting himself. Just trust and believe that I'm not being over the top or incendiary or fomenting unrest. That's how concerned I am. All right, buddy. What's that?
So he was minus money to make it to September, like
to December. To December.
Oh, to December. Yeah. Oh, so now he's plus money. Now
boy, and it's a safe bet. All right, enjoy your gas station burritos and your misery walks, and keep the lamp off. All right, buddy.
Okay.
Very good. And no show. Do you want to do the show Tuesday? Is that easier for you?
Possibly. That time slot is more than likely going to have to be like the time slot we work with. Still figuring a lot of stuff out.
All right, yeah. I'll call you later.
Okay, sounds good.
And I'm guessing the conversation won't be long.
Hey, what do you got?
Both types of sports.
Yeah, what's it do? Go long. Real long. Nice toss.
Both types of sports.
You don't throw it.